Okay, we're gonna dive right in here. Oh, I'm gonna wait a little bit. Pawan said he was gonna come back. Formulas, and then we'll just go from there. Okay, so cosine law, sine law, cosine law, only two options. Okay, so page 275. Okay, so there's what cosine can solve for. There are two cases. You're gonna need a pen, a different color pen or marker later on. Two cases. This is one of the cases. So write this, copy this triangle, make sure it's off-centered so you're not thinking it's an isosceles triangle or something like that. And it's very simplistic. I'm just gonna say let's put a check mark on this side here and a check mark on the longer side here. If you have two sides and the angle in between them, right, then you need to use cosine law. It's called the SAS triangle. Side angle side, right? Side angle side. That's what it stands for. You need to use the cosine law. No doubt about it. Okay. Do you have a pair? Like if you have this scenario, you don't have a pair, right? There's no side length across from that angle, so you have to use cosine law. The second instance, let's make the same triangle, is when you have all three sides. This is called side, 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 right? If you have all three sides, that one is the most obvious of all. The only one that can help you there is cosine law. That's the only option. And I'll make a big note here, kind of on the side pertaining to both cases. I meant to say in. So in both cases, there are no pairs. Okay, no pairs. So what I mean by that is you cannot use sine law there. It just will not work. You should recognize that right away. It's like either you're looking for the pair, I just cannot find a pair, it must be cosine law, or you recognize that it's two sides with the angle in between, or all three sides, which is the most obvious one of all. Okay. And yeah, the formulas are as follows. So given triangle ABC, right, you have side lengths that are across from them, right? Capital A has lowercase a across from it and so forth. Nothing changes there. Go to the bottom. There's a reason why I left it blank there. I'm going to give you three versions of the same formula. This is where I use a different color pen. If you wanted to solve for this side down here, and the first scenario, all of these are SAS, by the way. Just write down SAS, and I'll give you some formulas there. If you wanted to solve for side A, you would start it like this. A squared. I'm going back to pencil. A squared is equal to B squared plus C squared. You're like, hey, that's Pythagorean theorem. But now it changes significantly. Minus 2 times B times C. The dots and math are multiplication. I like to just use dots. Times cosine of, I'm using red pen again, the angle that's across the side you're trying to find. So capital A in this case, right? Listen carefully. In this scenario, you would know what B and what C is, and you would also know what angle A is. Like all of these things would be given to you. So think about it. B and C are given. if B and C are given and the angle is given, that's an SAS scenario, right? Let's say you wanted to solve for side B, right? So then you started like this. B squared is equal to the other two sides, right? So in this case, it would be A squared plus C squared. So B doesn't show up here anymore. Minus 2 times A. Look at the pattern, right? That's the important, times C times cosine of the angle that's across from that side you're trying to find. Capital B we put down. And the last one, if you wanted to try to find that angle C here, sorry, side C, you go C squared, and then the other two sides that are left would be A squared plus B squared minus 2 times A times B times cosine of C. Okay? So those are the two versions that you can use. The three variations of that formula. Each one allows you to find a different side on that triangle. I will emphasize the fact that at first everything is squared at the beginning. Later on, we'll have to square root, just like Pythagorean theorem. To get rid of the square, you have to square root at the end. So now, cut this. They look a little bit intimidating, but I will show you how to use them. It's not that bad at all. Now, if you have a side situation, you have to use one of the following. Because remember, if you know all three sides, all that is left to do is to find angles. So make sure you cut it here and start with this. Let's say you wanted to find angle A. You start like this, cosine. I told you that cosine and sine always need to be glued to an angle. Cosine of angle A will be equal to, don't be scared now, okay? Watch what I'm doing. Just make a long line like this. And you start like this. At the very end of this line, you're going to put minus A squared. So see again, the angle is across the side. Then I go back to my pencil and I say that it's going to be B squared plus C squared minus A squared. So there's the three sides are on top, but side A needs to be at it matters. The A needs to be at the end. B and C squared, you can flip them if you want, but the side with a negative has to be at the end. Then you go 2 times, watch this, B times C. So those two sides that were squared show up again down here. That formula would allow you to solve for angle A. Don't be too scared, okay? Just write it down for now. The next one is cosine of angle B. Like, let's say you wanted to solve for angle B. You do the line again. And because you're trying to solve for angle B, you don't care about anything else right now, but you make sure that B squared, the side that's across from the angle you're trying to find, is back here. And then you're like, what's left? Well, side A is left, I square it, and side C is left, assuming that A, B, C are the three sides at play here, right? In the denominator, you go 2 times A times C. So again, BC on the first one, right? BC. AC, AC, right? Cosine, last variation, there's only 3 again. We're on 275. Cosine of C, the first thing you do is minus C squared. And then you go A squared plus B squared over 2 times A times B. Those are the formulas. I don't think you need to have 3 of each, like you just have to have 1 of each. And watch this formula sheet, the yellow one. They actually give you both variations, but you don't. On your study sheet, I would have like the SAS or the side next to each one of them so that you know when to use which. One note here for side, because all you have left is to solve for angles. A little note here. If given a choice, right? If given a choice, solve for largest angle first. And the largest angle is always going to be across the longest side, right? So if you have a choice, find the largest angle first, and I will explain that later. For now, you just have to trust me. Okay? We good? We got them down? Okay. Next page. Let's dive into an actual example and put them to the test. Okay. So go to 276. And let's assume we don't know it's cosine law, right? So you're like, okay, I have a triangle. And what I notice is that I know this side, I know this side, and I know the angle in between them. So this is an SAS scenario, meaning I have to use cosine law. And if that doesn't do it, then try to find a pair, and you will notice that there's no way to get a pair here, right? You don't know the side length across from it, nothing. They're asking you to find side A, and you know it's SAS. So let me just go back one, right? SAS, you're going to have to use this formula, not this one, okay? So I'm just going to go by the first one, and I'm actually going to write it out. I want to find this side here. So I'm going to go A squared is equal to, take the other side squared and the third side squared, minus 2 times B times C times cosine of angle A. You don't need to write that out every time. This should be on your study sheet, and then you just follow it like this. A squared is equal to, if you look at here, B is already labeled at 7.9 squared plus C is 5.2 centimeters, so 5.2 squared minus 2 times B, I use brackets here, times C times cosine of angle A, which is 43 degrees. So you basically just plug it in, plug in, plug in, plug in. And I'm going to take my time on this one here. So grab your calculator. You need to get used to your calculator here. I don't know what kind of buttons you have because everybody has a slightly different calculator. But let's try this. If you go 7.9, this is how I would square it. My calculator has an x2 button, x to the power of 2. If you have that button, just press it and then hit equals. You're basically going 7.9 times 7.9, right? So that's what you should be getting. If you don't have that button, let's go 7.9. I have that little hat button. It looks like a hat like this. I go like that and then press 2. It does the same thing. 62.41. So try that out. So I get 62.41 for this plus 5.2 squared. That's 2704 minus 2. Oh, I'm not sorry. This one I need to show you. Follow me, okay? You literally go 2 times 7.9 times 5.2 times cosine of 43. It's just times, times, times. You just multiply it all across. And you get 60.08802013. I'm going to use all decimals. Why not? And let's not forget about our a squared, okay? Let's bring it down with us every line. And here is the next line. A is equal to, this is going to be a lot faster in a bit, okay? We're going to figure out what this is. 62.41 plus 27.04 minus 60.08802013. I just plug in the whole thing. And I get 29. Don't erase it. Just leave it there. 29.3619. That keeps going. And here's my last. I'm going to press the square root button and just hit equal. And that's 5.42. We are in centimeters. That is your final answer. But hold your horses. I wanna really put your calculator to the test. Let me just try something here. Grab one of these. So if you have one of these, look up on the screen. I'm gonna make sure it's set to degrees. So 7.9. You don't have the x2 button. So watch this. You have a y to the x button. See this one here where my finger is? You press that and then 2, that squares it. So if you hit equals, you get 62.41. Okay. Can you try this, everybody, with me? Let's type in this whole thing. This whole thing going up here. We're gonna type everything in one shot. If your calculator can do it, that's how I want you to do it from now on. I don't want you to type in each individually. So I'm gonna actually try with this one. So I'm gonna go 7.9 yx squared plus 5.2 y to the x squared minus 2 times 7.9 times 5.2 times cosine of 43. I typed in everything in one shot and let's see what I get. I'm supposed to get 29 and there it is. That's how you want to do it from now on. If your calculator cannot do it, then you got to talk to me. I can show you a way around it. Okay, but I hope that it works. That's why I want a good calculator. then it makes your life a lot easier. Then you take the square root. Okay, so see, I'm so used to my calculator. If you want a square root, you got to go second and then press the pi button here because that's your square root button. And I think you have to press the answer button as well. And then it will give you that, right? So I'll talk to you, I'll come around, and if you have calculator issues, that's the least of your problems. Like I can help you with that, as long as you understand how to use cosine law. Let's do one more here. Actually, while I'm walking around, because I want to make sure you're okay with the calculator, can you figure out, can you use what we just did using this triangle? But I'll help you out a little bit. If you wanted to solve for lowercase r, you start like this. R squared is equal to, you take the other two sides, 4.3 squared plus 6.5 squared. Like you take the other two sides, square them, then it's minus 2 times 4.3, right, the first side, times 6.5 times cosine of 61 degrees. I want you to type that in and see if you can figure that out. Go for it now. You do it, I do it, okay? Before we go. I'm going to hit equal here. That's what you should be getting. We'll just finish this. Don't pack just yet. You have 3 minutes. So watch this, folks. You type that into your calculator. You get that. I immediately go next line. It's 3 lines. That's all it is. You type it in. You show me the work. You go R is equal to. You type in 33.639 ... And then the next line is just figuring out what the square root is. I need to press second function and then the pi button on my calculator. Let's see if I don't have to press answer. Yeah, I don't have to. So this is 5.80 actually on the, right, because the 9 bumps that to a 10, bumps this to an 8. And we are in kilometers. 3 lines, that's all it took to solve using cosine law. Thank you guys. We'll do more tomorrow. No homework, no AC tomorrow. You don't have to worry about it. Maybe if you can just add stuff to your study sheet for this unit, that'd be